Before we begin, is anyone here for the Tarpey Village metering meeting? If you are, it is held at the public safety room, which is sort of across the way. So in case you are here for that, there is a meeting tonight at the same time with regards to Tarpey Village. So if you're here for the council meeting, this is what we have here. Okay. Brianna, we're good? Okay. At this moment, we're going to call the meeting to order. We apologize for the clock in the back. It is wrong because we had a power outage over the weekend. And I'm going to ask if we can all rise, and Councilmember Pierce will lead us in the flag salute.
Ready, salute.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. If we can have everybody stand still, the council would like to take this moment to have a moment of silence to respect the lives of Caden Bailey, which I think a lot of you are here for, and also Sandro Lazo. And so if we can just take a moment to remember them, and then we'll begin after that. Thank you. Thank you very much. You may be seated. We can get a roll call. Clerk.
Councilmember Baskel?
Here.
Councilmember Bessinger?
Here.
Councilmember Moanatua?
Here.
Councilmember Pierce? Here. And Mayor Ashbeck will be absent today.
Okay. Members of the public are encouraged to participate in our meetings. You can do so by accessing the webcast, okay, on our website, city website. You can also provide written comment at the same time at our website, or just coming in person like this evening to speak to the council. At this time, we're going to move into public comments. If you are here to speak on an item that is not on the agenda, you may do so. You can come to the podium here and address the council. You will have 3 minutes, and so you can kind of help gauge yourself with the clock as well. I know that there are many parents and students here to address us with regards to incident with, I think, Caden, and also the intersection at Fowler and Perrin area over there. And so we understand that as well. But at this time, if there's anyone here you would like to address the council on an item not on the agenda, you may do so. You just start queuing up over here, and you have 3 minutes. And if you can give your name and address for the record, it'll help us as well.
William and Anna Lazo, 1956 North Joshua Avenue, Clovis, California, 93619. Clovis City Council members, what is wrong with you? My name is William Lazo. Maybe if you have been paying attention to the local news lately, you may recognize my last name. This is my wife, Anna Lazo. Between the both of us, we have more than 55 years of service in education as a translator and a teacher from the Bay Area to the Central Valley. We moved here 5 years ago because of the quality of the schools and to get out of the busy traffic streets of a bigger city like San Jose. We're here today to demand that you take action about an issue that has been affecting our city like a cancer. Just 4 days ago, we lost our beloved son, Sandro Lazo, to a senseless traffic accident on Fowler Road and Perrin Avenue, mainly because of a distracted driver and not having a stop sign right there on that intersection. The neighbors in the area have been asking to place a stop sign right there for years, and you keep ignoring the issue, claiming it's a county decision. If you're that powerless, devoid of responsibility and common sense, you might as well quit your positions right now. We have to take medication to be able to sleep, and even though we only sleep 2 or 3 hours at a time and wake up in the middle of the night crying because of the pain and the loss of our son, I'm running out of tears and patience with you. Our families are devastated. Why do you keep approving new developments in Clovis without the proper safety measures? For the tax revenues only? You have failed to keep us safe. In just a week, 2 boys in our city have lost their lives unnecessarily. Caden Bailey and my dear Sandro, who was only 16. Many relatives throughout the United States, Australia, and Cuba are suffering these losses. He was so ready to start his junior years at Buchanan High School. He wanted to be a film director. According to his teachers and friends, he was a brilliant student and a very friendly and kind soul. This pain that we're feeling and we will continue to experience is the most terrible feeling anyone can have, and I hope that none of you ever have to feel that, even if you're ineffective bureaucrats. If you're not going to do anything, you might as well turn that corner property into a cemetery, because the neighbors have testified that all their lives have been lost there. You need to work with the county authorities to resolve this situation, which could be so simple but of the utmost importance to our community right now. You're here to serve our community, and I don't understand how this hasn't been fixed before. Why is it? Don't you have enough lawsuits in your hands? What will it take for you to take action? Do you need to lose a son of your own to try to do something? I ask again, what is wrong with you? Sandro deserved better. He was at the center of our lives, and now he's gone forever. Our family, friends, co-workers, and members of the community in general have been very supportive of our cause, and we're not going to stop now. We'll go to the county if necessary. We'll go to Sacramento if we have to, and even Washington, D.C. if you do nothing. Nothing will stop us now. We need a stop sign at Fowler Road and Perrin Avenue. Stop for Sandro. Stop for Sandro. Stop for Sandro. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. and Mrs. Sandro. Are there anyone else to speak with regards just to this item so that we can kind of keep it together for the stop sign? Is there anyone else? Okay. I just wanted to let Mr. and Mrs. Sandro and also all the concerned citizens know that we have reached out to Supervisor Magsig, and we asked one of the representatives to be here. So we will work diligently to make sure that something is done. We will do our best on our end to address the issue, even though it is in the county. We have an excellent working relationship with the county, and I'm sure Supervisor Magsig shares his condolences and he feels for your loss as well. So I just wanted to share that with the residents and also friends from Buchanan High School. Okay. So.
Good evening, City Council. I came to speak on the subject, but I have nothing. I didn't know these people or anything like that. But anyways, a few months ago, I posed a question to the City Council. And my question was to the City Council was, if you had a teenage child and you lived over there by Hardin Ranch or outside of Clovis, would you feel safe with your child riding a bicycle across town? And I don't know if you guys remember that or not. It was just a few months ago that I posed that question to you. I live on Bullard, and a couple months ago, a woman who lived on Gettysburg, I believe, and Stanford in that area, I believe, she was complaining about traffic. And I've come upon this board to complain about the speed limit on Bullard. The amount of area there is on the sidewalks for children to ride their bikes, and sometimes they have to ride on the streets. Across the street from where I live on 166 Bullard, there is a bike lane, but the bike lane isn't very wide. So most of the kids, they ride on the sidewalk. And then I also mentioned to you area right there on Sunnyside, close to 3rd Street. They just built a house there. There's no sidewalks there. So the kids, if there's any kids in that area, have to ride on the street, or they have to ride in a shopping center right there where Peacock Market is at, along Sunnyside. So I believe that the city of Clovis, I mean, I don't have any answers, but I think the city could do a better job. I really do. And so that's my comment for tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. And this is Mr. Trevino. Yes. Just want to get your name on the record. So, thank you. Anyone else to speak to the council on items not on the agenda? Seeing none, we're going to go ahead and close the public portion, and we're going to move now to the consent calendar. Okay. And so I have a request from Councilmember Bessinger to pull item 4. So any others need to be pulled for the consent calendar? None. Is anyone here in the public here to speak on items 1 through 3? Okay, seeing none, we'll close the public portion. We'll welcome a motion.
Motion to approve items 1 through 3. Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Item 4. Item 4 is public utilities final acceptance of CIP 23-16, the Gould Canal Trail improvements with a final contract cost of $104,589.03.
I just wanted to make a public comment about that. This is a trail improvement in southwest Clovis, and for those of us who live in other neighborhoods, we have great connectivity. We have beautiful pathways and walkways that we can go on. In southwest Clovis, which is our oldest part, they don't have those things. This is a first step in connecting our neighborhoods in southwest Clovis, improving lives for the folks who have their homes, live in apartments, have their businesses. So the reason I pulled it off the consent calendar, I want to thank staff for their hard work on this, and also thank our friends at the Fresno Irrigation District who worked very hard with us to make this happen. That's all I have.
Two things real quickly. One is going to be a thank you, Councilmember Bessinger. We do plan a public event to recognize the work that was done there. You'll get the details to follow. And then I think we accidentally called item number 4 item number 2. So we actually pulled item number 2, and we're looking for a motion to approve 1, 3, and 4.
That one was for 2, John?
Correct.
Okay. Scott, we didn't do anything? Because it says 4 for us, but did I?
As listed up there is incorrect. Or the 2 and 4 switched, I think, on our written agenda.
Yeah, on the written agenda, it's item number 4.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry.
So the motion is correct then?
It's correct.
Okay.
So just so the public knows, it's item 2 as listed up there, but it's item 4 in the written agenda that we're discussing right now.
Okay. If you don't have a written agenda, then number 2 is really number 4 on our documented, but on the computer up there it's wrong. So just to let you know. So we have approved 1, 2, and 3 officially, and number 2 up there is really number 4, if that made any more sense. Any other comments on number 4? Okay. Any comments from the public with regards to number 4, consent item? Okay. If not, we'll come back to the
Motion to approve item number 4. Second.
with motion and second. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. Now we'll move into public hearing, and we have one item in public hearing, item number 5, and it is for CUP 2024-003, an appeal, a request to reconsider or to consider an appeal of the Planning Commission's approval of CUP 2024-003 for a 16-bed congregate care facility for the properties located at 2901 and 2939 Armstrong Avenue. Cheryl Nelson, owner, ARC Congregate Living, Fresno LLC, applicant, and Orlando Ramirez is the representative. And staff presenting on this will be Marissa and Lily. So, Lily Cha.
Thank you,
Go ahead.
Council. Good evening. CUP 2024-003 is associated with an approximately half-acre site located on the east side of Armstrong Avenue, south of Gettysburg. This CUP was originally approved by the Planning Commission at its June 27th, 2024 meeting with a vote of 4-0 and Commissioner Hebert absent. At the July 1st council meeting, 2 of the surrounding property owners came and expressed concerns regarding the project, and it was appealed with a 4-0 vote with Mayor Ashbeck abstaining by the council for consideration. This CUP request is to allow the construction and operation of a new 6,000 square foot, 18-bed congregate care facility. This is classified in the Clovis Municipal Code as Medical Services Extended Care. This facility will be licensed by the state of California for residents needing care for a minimum of 18 months. These are folks who are catastrophically ill, terminally ill, and they would receive services such as medical supervision, skilled nursing, on-site dialysis treatment, and more. On the screen, you will see 4 examples of the 10 congregate care facilities that we have throughout the city. The top 2 facilities were most recently approved back in 2021. These are both located on the east side of Locan, south of Shepherd. These were both developed and are operated by the same entity, and they are also adjacent to each other. Both of these facilities are approximately 4,600 square feet, and they provide 10 beds each. In addition, they each provide 7 parking stalls. On the bottom right-hand side, we have the facility over at Armstrong and Alamos, which is about half a mile north of this project. They originally provided care to just 6 individuals, which does not require a CUP. However, they did come to staff and get an approved CUP by the Planning Commission in 2022 to increase the number of beds from 6 to 12. This facility is about 3,600 square feet, and they do provide 7 parking stalls as well. On the bottom right, we have a congregate care facility located on Sierra Avenue. This facility is about 10,500 square feet, and they provide services to 18 individuals. They also provide 21 parking stalls. As you can see, each of these facilities is designed a little bit differently, but they all received a conditional approval by the Planning Commission to operate. The applicant provided us a site plan with our original submittal that you will see on the screen. However, some changes have been made, so we will get into those in a few minutes, but I did want to discuss the original site plan. The original site plan provided 2 access points off of Armstrong Avenue and a circular driveway, which is consistent with a majority of the other homes that have Armstrong frontage. Based on the code, the facility is only required to have 4 parking stalls. However, with the original site plan, they did provide 6. The trash enclosure was originally located to the northern property line. However, prior to Planning Commission, staff and the applicant did agree to relocate the trash enclosure elsewhere so that it wasn't as close to the north property line. And with congregate care facilities, staff does recommend that the applicant install a minimum 6-foot masonry block wall. The applicant agreed to do so along the north, south, and east property lines. During the Planning Commission meeting, we did receive concerns from 9 property owners in the area, and we also did receive 1 letter of concerns between the Planning Commission meeting and tonight's City Council meeting. Staff wanted to address the concerns, and we also did receive some recommendations from the neighbors on how to address these concerns. The applicant did make some modifications to their site plan, which we will get into in a few slides. One of the first areas of concern was privacy. So the applicant is proposing a 1-story home, and as mentioned before, staff does recommend that a 6-foot block wall be installed, which the applicant has agreed to. This is consistent with our other congregate care facilities congregate care facilities within the city. And since the 6-foot wall is meeting the requirement. Staff does not find that an increased height of the wall would be necessary. That was a suggestion from one of the neighbors to make it possibly 7 or 8 feet. However, that would be inconsistent with the other walls and fences in the area. The applicant has also shifted the site a bit to increase the setbacks along that northern property line, and I'll show you those in just a minute. As it relates to noise, research on congregate care facilities and calls for service do not increase the ambient noise levels of a neighborhood more so than a traditional single-family residence would. As it relates to light and glare, the applicant is not proposing anything that is out of the ordinary that you would see with a traditional single-family home. The applicant is going to be held to the same residential development requirements, and those will be ensured through the site plan review process. There were a lot of discussion about parking. As I mentioned before, the code does require 4 parking stalls. However, the applicant has decided to redesign the site in a way that will accommodate 11 parking stalls on the site. However, staff has observed and done research, and there is evidence that typically with congregate care facilities, the parking lots are typically underparked and there are a surplus of parking stalls available, whether that be for staff or guests. And then also along Armstrong Avenue, there is on-street parking available, which is available to all of the homes that front Armstrong as well. We did look into the traffic concerns with our engineering division, and this use of congregate care facility often has low traffic volumes, so there were no concerns with that, or with an increase in volume that would be atypical to a single-family home. And as I mentioned before, all access is from Armstrong Avenue, so in the need for a call for service or any traffic will not be going through the surrounding neighborhood. Segueing into calls for service, we did receive letters from our fire department and our police department providing some feedback on congregate care facilities. So both of those letters were attached in your packet. The police department did provide some information, which averages about 4 calls per facility per year. In addition, the fire department did provide a letter. However, in light of new information, there were some errors in the calculations. So we did receive an updated letter from the fire department, which was provided to you on the dais, and that error was resolved. And there are approximately an average of 8.2 calls per year per facility. So while that number is a bit higher than what was in the original letter, the fire department remains in support of the project. They do not oppose it, and neither does the police department. Neither have concerns, and they have both provided us conditions to the CUP that are to ensure safety for the residents, staff, and guests. There was a lot of conversation regarding this home and if there were to be a potential future change of use, more specifically for a drug rehab facility, as we have classified this use as medical services extended care and we have conditioned it accordingly. Any future use would need to abide by the conditions of this CUP, and any change whatsoever would require an amended CUP that would need to go to the Planning Commission for approval. And the last concern that we will discuss is aesthetics. So the applicant is proposing a custom-built home that will feature consistent materials and roof lines of the neighborhood in addition to enhanced landscaping. There are 2 examples of homes from the neighborhood on this slide, and so you can see some of the typical colors and design. One of the areas of concern with the proposed building was kind of a storefront or commercial glass door and windows. However, staff has worked with the applicant, and the applicant has agreed to redesign the front door to a more residential wooden door design. Here are a couple other examples of homes in the greater Gettysburg-Armstrong vicinity. The applicant has pulled features from each of these of materials, stone, brick, roof material, and roof line with this. As you can see, some of these homes are on the larger side. The subject parcel is physically suited to be able to accommodate the building as it is proposed, about 6,000 square feet, as it does meets and exceeds the setbacks and the development standards such as lot coverage and height. Therefore, the city cannot regulate the size of the building being built. As I mentioned before, the applicant has taken the concerns from the neighbors, and they have worked to modify the site plan and redesign it in a way to accommodate some of those concerns. So as you can see, access still remains off of Armstrong with that circular driveway design. They are now proposing 11 parking stalls, which almost doubles the required number of stalls. The trash enclosure has been relocated from the northern property line more towards the middle of the site, further south. And this location does work for our public utilities, solid waste, vehicle, and staff. And the applicant is still proposing that 6-foot masonry block wall along the north, south, and east property line. As it relates to setbacks, the applicant has shifted the building south. The original setback from the north property line was 5 feet 8 inches. It is now 9 feet 9 inches, and the setback from the south property line is 30 feet. So they are far exceeding the minimum setback requirements. With a conditional use permit, there are 6 findings that need to be made. When it comes to findings, staff has to be able to make all 6 findings in order to recommend approval. And in this case, the Planning Commission was also able to make all 6 findings. So the findings, the use would not impair to the character of the area. The project has been designed by the applicant to pull features that are compatible with the surrounding area, something that is consistent with the general plan land use designation of low-density residential and the R1C zone district. This use is conditionally approved with the CUP to be located in the R1C zone district. As I mentioned before, the subject parcel has been reviewed, and it is physically suitable in size and shape for the project, and there are adequate provisions for utilities and services. As it relates to the environmental effects, staff was able to exempt this from CEQA with a Class 32 categorical exemption, thus determining that there are no potential significant negative environmental effects. If for any reason the council is not able, or if the council decides to uphold the appeal and deny the project, you will need to specify which of the CUP findings were not able to be met, as the findings are a requirement. So based on staff and Planning Commission being able to make the 6 required CUP findings and the applicant being able to revise the site to accommodate the neighbors' concerns and being in excess of all of the requirements, and the site being able to handle this congregate care facility, staff recommends that the City Council adopt a resolution upholding the Planning Commission's approval of Conditional Use Permit 2024-003, subject to the conditions of approval listed as Attachment 1A. Thank you, and I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Okay, before I go to Councilmember Bessinger, I wanted to let our planning commissioners know that the appeal is not a reflection of their decision, but really it was a way for the council to allow the public, which is probably not an applicant, to appeal in a way in which they can come to us. And so it was a way for us to hear it in that sense. So it was not about the planning commission. So planning commissioners, it was never discussed. So it was just a way, as Councilman Bessinger stated, you know, it's a way to help a resident who may not be able to pay the appeals fee. So, and with that, I'll allow any questions, Councilman Bessinger.
Yeah, I thank you for saying that, Vong. It's important for our citizens to be able to appeal to the elected officials. And that's the reason that I voted and proposed this tonight. I want to break down privacy. Can you bring up page 40 of the report? It shows the elevations for the can you do that?
No.
You cannot. Okay. The elevations that are for the building, the north side, the east side, and the west side do not have windows. So
That's correct.
that alleviates or mitigates the privacy issues, at least as far as I can see. There's no windows. The only windows are going to be to the south, facing onto Armstrong. The only other, you know, there's some doors and there's garage doors, but I don't think the concern about people can look over the fence is, I think that's been mitigated. Parking wise, I went and looked at all 4 of the places this morning while they're operating. None of the cars were parked on the street. They were all parked on the physical land that the facilities were. I do have a question about police department calls for service, and I'm probably also going to have a question for the applicant. I was unaware that the facility on North Villa had people who were inmates from Fresno County Jail who are in need of congregate care because of their, I'm assuming it's because they can't be protected or cared for properly in jail.
Yes, that is correct. One of the facilities in the city of Clovis does have a contract with the county. Not every facility has these contracts with the county or other state entities. They still have to follow their same guidelines for any normal patient that would not be in custody. One of the big ones is that they are non-ambulatory, so they're usually bedridden. They have some other issues going on that limits their ability to move around.
So have we experienced any walkaways?
No,
Okay.
We don't have any calls for service that would indicate that.
And based upon the medical condition of these people, that's not going to be an issue for us.
Yeah, we do not anticipate that based off of the prior calls for service at these locations in the city.
Okay. I did speak to the fire chief, and after reading the report, and the fire chief told me he had no concerns about this project, and the fire department is not in opposition. With there were 13 calls for service at 648 West Sierra. What were most of those? Most of them were I'm sorry, it's the fire department, never mind. I'm reading the wrong one. Chief, the fire department calls, the 13 calls, because you have 13 there and 19 on Villa. Those were basically medical aids there to assist
Yeah, the
EMS?
majority, most of the calls there were for medical assistance. I have our life safety manager, Chad Fitzgerald, here as well, who does our data analytics that can explain any more if you'd like. But they're the majority, most of them are for medical aid assistance.
Medical aids, okay. And that's typical for this type of facility.
True.
They have care on scene. They have a doctor, who, in the event that someone was to pass, they would more than likely just call a mortuary service. Is that generally how those things are done?
Yes.
Okay. that's all I have for that. I went and looked at the neighborhood, after looking at all the other locations. My concern is that if, as council, we said no, and we'd have to come up with a justified reason for rejecting the CUP, someone could come in a month and plop down 4 fourplexes there, and we wouldn't have no authority to say no. I've been on the council since we've approved 4 of these facilities. I go past 2 of them on a weekly basis. I've never seen cars parked around. I've never seen any kind of debris. They're very clean. They're nicely run. I understand the concerns, but it's one of those, you almost have to be careful what you wish for sometimes. So that's all the questions I have.
Okay. Any other questions for staff? Okay. I had a couple questions. Marissa, on the lot itself, why does it trigger a CUP, the number of beds? What's that number?
Yes. So for group homes, congregate care facilities, anything that is providing care to 6 or less individuals is allowed by right. Any sort of group home, supportive home, extended care facility, providing care to 7 or more automatically requires a CUP.
So they could have built 3 small homes and actually have 6 in each, and it would, if it could fit those 3, they can do that.
Yeah, if they split the lots and they met all the development standards.
Okay. And then if they just went for 6, okay, say they only went for 6, is there a limit on the size of the home that they can build? Can they still build this home, but they say, we're only serving 6, because it's going to be a luxury congregate care facility?
No, there is no limit on the size of the building as long as it meets all of the standards.
Okay.
Setbacks, height, all of that.
And then with all the sort of the parking stalls, and I think this was must have been one of the neighbors provided, have we, whether it's in sort of the, what do you call those, from PD or from fire or from, have we had any complaints with regards to parking from any of the facilities where we had to go out and actually tell whoever's visiting and or staff to move a vehicle? Have we ever had a parking complaint that you know of?
I am not aware of any parking complaints, but I can defer to fire or PD.
Because I know that it's not set in here. We have certain calls for service, but I don't see it, so I just wanted to know if there were any.
There was one location, I believe it was the Locan one, where there was an inoperable vehicle parked on the street. It was expired registration, and it was towed. But other than that, no other parking complaints, issues, and I believe that was a proactive. An officer was in the area, observed the vehicle, and took enforcement on it. Okay, so it was actually, we initiated, it wasn't a call or a complaint from a neighbor for that one as well. Okay, thank you. And let me see. And the Planning Commission approved 4-0, because there was one that was absent.
That is correct.
Okay, all right. That's all the questions I had. Councilmember Pierce or Basco, any questions? Okay. This time we're going to go ahead and open the public portion. So if you're here to speak on this item, whether for or against, you may address the council at this time. If you could state your name, give your address for the record. Yes. Thank you.
Let's see.
It's on already.
Is it on?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm sorry. First off, I want to say good evening to the City Council. I appreciate the opportunity to be here. And again, I want to, I'm not going to read everything off because there were some changes made, and I appreciated that, and I'll kind of get into that a little bit. I do want to, I appreciate the opportunity to be able to speak here. My name is Tom Judd. I live on Indianapolis Avenue, which is basically right behind or right next to where the Congregate healthcare facility is going to go in. And I do want to, first off, thank and I appreciate Mr. Ramirez and the builders for making a few changes.
that were proposed in the new plan. I really do appreciate that. And I'm going to mention this because I kind of put you guys, I guess, in a little spot, in a sense like you were going against the planning. I don't think you were, but I think you were listening to the constituents, the people, the neighbors in the area, and I appreciate that because I really do also feel that if we didn't have this process, and I'm not saying that they wouldn't have made those, but I think it made it easier for some of these changes to be made through this whole process. So I appreciate that because these were some of the concerns that we had, and because we didn't want parking outside. And Gettysburg Elementary School is really right across the street from this facility, and that's a big major concern, not with what it is now. And I appreciate the fact that it would have to come through the board again. I guess I would like some type of, and I don't know if there can be any assurances that they can't turn into, because of the elementary school being close to a mental health or some type of drug rehabilitation center there. There's a lot of school-age children there that walk to school. And I don't know, were you able to pull up the PowerPoint at all? Okay, first off, and it's similar to what they were saying on my PowerPoint. I just picked 6 homes, Armstrong being the proposal on the bottom. And my biggest thing was also is the size. You had 0.55 acres on the bottom, the Armstrong acres on it, and they wanted an 18-bed facility, to where all the other ones, if you look, the other 18-bed facilities almost on a full acre. And one of the things that was inaccurate in their paperwork that they presented to the city council was it's a 0.55, and they were saying that the land that is around the property, single-family homes, we live, and most of us are on at least a third of an acre, and they were saying it's more than double. It's not true. Really, they'd have to be 0.67 or 0.7. So it is a larger structure on a smaller piece of land, and that's what bothers me. I wish it would have been 10 beds, because to me, it's like, is it all about the money, or is it about making sure that the care is there and where it's supposed to be? And that's one of the things that kind of bothered me about everything. And I know the city of Clovis is always about doing the right thing, and that's why I appreciate this process and listening to us. And really, I just want to make sure that things are right. It's not that I'm totally against it, because I'm not. I'm just against some of the things that I felt were not appropriate. And they did move over the side, which was good. One of the things I suggested was inverting it, because there's more property on the other side of the south side instead of the north side. There's 38 feet roughly from the property line to the next guy's house, plus another 20 or more feet. So it was like inverting it would make it more in the center of both properties, but they addressed parts of it, so I'm okay with that. That was one of my main things, is why does it have to be so large? It seems like it's about the money and not necessarily about the care. When I look at that and I look at this chart, compared size-wise, the beds that are actually proposed, or that the capacity, it's a lot larger on a smaller piece of land than any of the other ones that are in any of the neighborhoods. If you want to, can you hit the PowerPoint again? The one on the top left is the Alamos home. The first 2 slides are actually, and that totally blends into the neighborhood. The one on the right is a neighbor, so that's right next to Alamos. So that's basically what it looks like. It's pretty similar. The one on the left is one of the Locan healthcare facilities. The one on the right is a home under construction, but that pretty much fits in. If you could go ahead and flip it, thank you. The one on the left, and that's the 18-bed facility on Villa, that's a very large structure. It also has, a parking capacity of 15, and that's the 18-bed facility. And that's why when they originally had 6, with 2 of them being handicapped, to me, that wasn't appropriate, and I felt with the way the street's set up, it was not going to be safe. So I do appreciate the fact that they added more parking. The house the middle one in the top, that's the house that's actually right next door to where the new Armstrong facility is going to be built. And then the other 3 are neighborhood homes in the area. So that's some of the ones that are in the neighborhood. If you
Tom,
can hit one, go ahead.
If you can wrap up, I'm giving you more time because I know that
just a few more minutes.
You summarized a lot of this for a lot of the neighbors, and so I appreciate that. So.
No problem. These are the streets, and this is one of the safety factors that we felt. If you remember, well, you were not the Planning Commission. They had said that there was a middle turn-in lane on the Planning Commission. There's no middle turn lane. In fact, on one side of the street, and you can see it's the second picture, there's only a fog lane there. In front of the facility, there is parking, and there is like a fog lane, a bicycle lane, whatever. But on the other side of the street, there's a barrier, and that's private property that can't be taken away. So I was concerned about that, which to me was a big deal. It's already a busy street because of the schools that are actually off of Armstrong. So that's one of the things that concerned me. On the bottom right, that's behind the fence, and I know they said, when I went and I looked, and most of the facilities looked like they were 7 to 8 foot fences, brick walls, but the property is lower than it is, on the land that they're going to build the healthcare facility on. So the property's higher. So is a 6-foot fence? Could it be a 7-foot fence? I don't know. It's a foot to 2 feet lower, and they can't raise it up too much because of also the existing homes in back of it on the side. So those were some of the things that I was concerned with, and I'll just wrap it up by saying I just want to make sure it really does blend in. I feel that a larger facility on a small piece of land is not going to blend in right. And I would rather have a 7-foot wall because of that disparity in the land, and I don't think they can build it up. I know there is no windows on the side, but in the back they have like a sitting area, or it was proposed originally a sitting area. So there will be people outside there in the front and the back, okay, and the parking. So I want to make sure that the privacy of everyone on that side of the street, they have the proper privacy. And I guess my biggest concern now, after they've made some changes in some of the things I talked about, though, is I just do not want it turning into something different. I mean, my kids are older. I'm retired. I'm everything else. But I am concerned because probably I was an educator. I am concerned with kids. There's a school over there. I do not want it turning into, and I'm not saying, I have a nephew who has mental issues. He's in a home. So I understand all this. But at the same time, right next to a school, I just would like some type of, again, you probably can't say that, assurances, but I don't want it turning into that with the school right next to it, and I think you would probably feel the same if you had school-age children there too. So that's what really concerns me with everything. Okay?
Thank you very much, Tom. Any questions for
Thank you for the time.
Tom? Did you have
Actually, I have a question regarding one of the things he stated, not necessarily for Tom's, for Lily.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Going back to the comment about the type of use, if this were to be proposed to change the type of use, it would have to go through the CUP process again, correct?
That is correct.
And at that time, we would have to be reevaluated under the standards of whatever that CUP is, such as a mental health facility, drug facility, and that kind of thing, which, if I remember right, what you just said, would have to go back to a 6-bed facility as opposed to an 18?
Anything over 7 would require the CUP. Anything less than 7, any sort of group home, supportive home is allowed by right.
Okay, thank you. If I have a question. Yes. In regards to the black light wall, do the people who live immediately adjacent have the ability to have their wooden fence taken down and actually share that block light wall? Or if they wanted to keep it, could they retain their own fence? Let's say they put a really nice fence up. How does that work for the people directly affected?
So we normally encourage the developer to work with the abutting neighbors to see if they want to tear down their fencing and just share the wall. That's a possibility. Otherwise, if the neighbor chooses to, they can also keep their existing wood fence wall.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions?
One other quick question.
Yes.
Okay. In regards to the traffic and the turn-in, will there be a required lane in order to turn into the property?
That, I don't know if there's some future changes to Armstrong you want to clarify.
So we would assess that during the SPR process. When it comes in for the SPR, we would look at that configuration. And currently, we looked at to see if we could add a continuous left turn lane along that stretch. And we do have the appropriate right-of-way to do that if we wanted to. Thank you.
And just for the neighbors, SPR is the site plan review in which the applicant will work directly with our staff and a full analysis of sort of the traffic that Councilmember Basco asked. And so that will be done at that time.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak?
Evening, Steve Henry, 2226 Indianapolis, 4 houses down from the project. First and foremost, thank you very much for your consideration. It's not lost on us. We certainly appreciate being here tonight. Mine's going to be real simple and hopefully very brief. This is too big. You noticed in the charts, an acre for 18 people. You build the house like you have, that you approved in 22, like on Locan, you build that house on this property, I'll see you at the next picnic. You won't see me again. Because 10-bed facility, 12-bed facility, that's what that fits, basically. And I would highly encourage the council to stick with that standard to see. If you look at the 10-bed facilities that are on Locan, 0.425, this is 0.55. So it falls into a smaller, I'm asking for you to reduce the amount of patients that you'll allow on this size of a property. Does that make sense? So basically, I too understand the need, but let's face it, 18 beds versus the 12-bed and what it would look like. Those homes on Locan, I personally got out and walked around, much like you, Mr. Messenger. They're lovely homes. I'd be tickled pink if you put one of those on that property. Thank you. I appreciate the time.
Ms. Henry, can I ask you a question?
Yeah, go ahead.
Are you opposed to the number of beds, or are you opposed to the size of the building that is coming in, or both?
I think it's symmetrical. So the number of beds, yes.
Okay.
The size of the building, if you have fewer beds, you would need fewer square footage. So the property would then, the building itself would shrink. In my opinion, it would shrink, and that's just what I know about the construction, is that you would need that big of square footage. I am opposed to the square footage, 6,000 square foot plus 18 people. Those are my two concerns. And then the only other concern is, and all due respect to engineering, if deliveries are coming down Armstrong, they're going to have to go over a double yellow to get to the property versus coming north on Armstrong and turning into the driveway. Okay. And the only other thing is, and I know it's been a while, but Armstrong has gotten a lot busier nowadays. It's even worse when they do the constructions over on Fowler and so forth, but it's gotten a lot busier. It could use a traffic study. And then just a note, it's off topic, and I'll get out of your hair. And I don't know if it's policy, I don't know if it's part of the CMC, but when you notice the neighbors on a project like this, 300 feet's just not far enough. I would highly recommend 1,000. Mayor Ashbeck can't be here. Well, she's on vacation, but she couldn't be sitting in the meeting because she's within 1,000 feet of the project. Let's move that out to 1,000 feet so everybody gets to see what these projects are doing for them. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Did we notice 300, or did we do 600 on this one, or 800?
300.
300, okay, thanks. Anyone else to speak on this item?
My name is Miroslav Lazovic. My house is at 2204 Indianapolis Avenue, right next door, 6 foot from my swimming pool is the place where they're gonna put this 18 beds hospital, or whatever they call it. I'm totally against it. There are 4 girls that are living in this house. They will be the owner of the house as soon as I'm gone from this lousy world full of pain. I am against this. And I can tell you, I'm pretty sure that my neighbors are not going to be happy what I'm going to say. Any problem, and I guarantee you that will be a problem, I will file globally lawsuit against State of California, lawsuit against City of Clovis, globally, for pain and suffering. I said this exactly same thing to one of the biggest automakers in the world, and they laughed at me, but I left when I took $250,000 tax-free check to the bank. And this is what I'm telling you. I'm putting you on the notice. Because I know that this girl swim there. If you come and see that, it's a 6 foot from this building where they're going to put. You can approve because it's not 6 foot from your swimming pool. Shame on you for even bringing this here.
Thank you, Mr. Milo. Anyone else here to speak on this item?
Hello, good evening. Thank you so much for your time. My name is Michael Prieto. I live at 2205 Indianapolis Avenue, right down the street from this. 2 things. One, the size is nearly double what any other size that you've shown to us tonight. There was one other 18-bed facility. I know where that facility is. It's just down the street from my parents' house, and that does not look like it belongs in the neighborhood. Perhaps this will. But that's on double the size. And so, as one of my other neighbors said, I have a better view of this as a smaller facility because 6,000 is double the size of any other home that's in that area. I've lived there since 2005, bought the lot, built a custom home on there myself. So I think it's too large. I think the number of beds is too much. I think both of those need to be adjusted. I'm very pleased that they have more parking there because 6 parking places was just completely inadequate. Other thing about the traffic, if you've driven on that area at any time in the morning or in the evening, you know that there's not, I saw something on here, light traffic. That is utterly ridiculous. I don't know what that street does, but it does probably 20,000 cars a day. That's a lot of cars. There isn't a time when cars at 5 o'clock are not backed up from Gettysburg and Armstrong past my house, past his house, and almost to this facility. So to think that there's not going to be issues with traffic, somebody's not really playing fair here, okay? So I don't know if there's room there to put a left-hand turn lane in, but I'm telling you, traffic coming south is going to have a real hard time getting across that there. So those are my issues. I'm glad the other issues were addressed. They definitely needed to be addressed. And again, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Prieto.
Any questions?
Yeah, any questions for Mr. Prieto? Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Go ahead, sir.
Good evening. My name is John Burtson, and we are at 2856 Carolina. And the property, our house has been there since '94. So we're a little further away than the Indianapolis people. I do work leave in the morning, and yes, it's horrendous there's a lot of traffic there on Gettysburg, sometimes a couple of light changes before I can get through it. So I am concerned about any extra traffic. And so if you go to your little PowerPoint and show the homes, you had pictures of the homes. If you could show that real quick. All the homes in the neighborhood, that you had some beautiful pictures of them. Beautiful homes. And if this was my world and I was in charge, I wouldn't put anything like this around these homes. Because these are single-family homes. This is residential. If you built some more homes like that, yeah, I could live with that, okay? And then if you go back to CPU, you have the 6. Could you go to that for me real quick? So you have these findings. Finding 1, wouldn't impair the character of the area, complies with applicable provisions. Proposed use is consistent with the general plan, compatible with the surrounding area. There are no 18-room homes in this area. None. There are no 6,000 square foot homes in this area that I'm aware of. So it doesn't fit. It's too big. It's too big. It doesn't fit. And you've got the school right there. And the fire chief said on Sierra there were how many calls this last year for medical aid? 14?
13.
15. And that's a smaller facility than this. So you can't tell me it's not going to increase some traffic. We're going to hear sirens. And this is a residential area. Okay? I could live with maybe a little smaller facility because 1, 2, 3, and 4, there you go. There's your way out. It doesn't fit. And I think last but not least, like I said, you're close to a school, got kids. Yeah, that concerns me. And I don't want to see this go from, some care for, people who need it to mental health issue, to drug. And I was involved back on Thompson when I owned a home over there. We had this big problem where they were trying to put in a home in our neighborhood for sexual predators released from jail. And they never said a word. And man, it was so close to a school or a bus stop. That stopped that. No, this doesn't fit here. Thank you, guys. Any questions?
Any questions for Mr. Burks? Thank you, Mr. Burks.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Is there anyone else here to speak on this item? Okay.
So I'm Jenny Crin, and I live on Bullard Avenue. And I suppose I'm not quite sure how far away from the Locan. I'm a Bullard and Locan, so I don't know how far down Locan those facilities are. But having recently lost my mother, I know one of the concepts of having some of the congregate care facilities in the community is that if it's you and something happens and you can't live independently, you need some medical support or assistance, it'd be nice to be able to stay in the same neighborhood or near your family so that they could easily come see you. So the concept of having these facilities is to make it so that it's not so disruptive as to have to move, to a facility 30 minutes away or something like that. But so anyway, just kind of keep that in mind when, people, we don't want to get NIMBY about things because it would be nice to have mom and dad in the backyard nearby. So thank you.
Thank you, Jenny. Anyone else here? Okay, go ahead.
Hi, Kirsten Craig, 2266 Rickert. So my only concern is going back to the aesthetics of this. We've lived in the neighborhood 6 years or so, and this facility, again, I agree with the concept that it's just too big for what we're doing. When we were looking at the plans before, and we saw only 6 parking spaces for 18 beds, that was a concern. Well, now we're adding more parking spaces rather than reducing beds. Once we add those parking spaces to the front of that facility, it's not going to look like a home anymore. It's now a business. You've just created 6 parking stalls, and the aesthetics that you're building to try and make it look like a home just disappeared. It's now a business with parking stalls. When there were only 6 and they were more hidden to the side, you didn't really see them from the street, a smaller facility, I think that would fit in better in the neighborhood. But we've just, by adding the parking stalls instead of decreasing the size of the facility, we've just ruined that aesthetic, in my opinion.
Thank you, Kirsten. Any questions for Kirsten? Okay. Thank you. Any others like to speak on this item? Okay, go ahead, sir.
Good evening. I'm Will Keller. I live at 2920 Joshua, a little bit further away than most folks. First off, thank you very much for having this item on your agenda, and my compliments to your staff for the staff report and presentation this evening. It's quite good. Just a couple of comments. I'm a little familiar with land use, and I'm a little bit familiar with these facilities. The state of California's regulations, which allow 6 or fewer by right, to me is a rather painful exercise, because I've seen those turn neighborhoods against each other and seen what they can do when they have the wrong type of clientele in those areas. So I'm going to echo what a lot of people have said. These facilities tend to go into neighborhoods with larger homes because they have more bedrooms. So putting a facility like this in could be a very attractive proposal for if, in fact, this particular facility, which has a very admirable purpose, were to become defunct or move out of the area, then you'd have other operators that have other clienteles come in, and it'd be real attractive. And even though it has to go through an amendment to the CUP, it's a lot easier to bring something in to modify a use that has a building already there than to build a new building. So that's point one. Point two is I would echo what the lady just said, is putting the parking up front does make it commercial. It's not a single-family use. It's a residential facility, but it is a commercial operation in a residential area. So those are just a couple points I'd like to raise. So anyway, thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. Do you have anyone else? Okay. Applicant here. Okay. You've heard a lot of what's said. You can.
Well, good evening, council and staff. Lando Ramirez of Watford Avenue in the city of Fresno. I thank staff for the great job they did with the summary, but I'd like to expand on some of the points. We received a letter last week from staff with some of the concerns from the residents in that area. So I just want to expand point by point on those, if I may. So the 18-bed facility is too small compared to other facilities in the city of Clovis. So the site is over half an acre in size. The 6,000 square foot facility is actually 25% of lot coverage. The R1C zone district allows for up to 40% lot coverage. We're at 25%. So we don't exceed what the district allows. In fact, we're way below what the district would allow. There are existing facilities mentioned in staff's report that are both 18-bed facilities. These facilities are well over 10,000 square feet respectively. This is the smallest facility we could build and still get the 18 beds we need, so we came up with the 6,000 square feet. The proposed structure does not fit into the current residential makeup of the neighborhood. They might have forgotten, the state requires that these facilities are incorporated into a residential setting. It's a state requirement that they be in residential districts. That being said, we went through extensive design review to incorporate elements of the surrounding environment in order to be compatible in design, layout, and form. Various homes within the area have a mixture of roof styles, but specifically properties along Armstrong Avenue utilize composition roofs. So we match that for continuity as well with the neighborhood. Neighborhood homes utilize typical neutral colors, so we match that as well. Several homes along Indianapolis, just to the north of us, utilize veneer stone columns as decorative features to the front of their homes. So to match that, we incorporate that into our elevation as well, as you can see. Marissa, do you have the elevation, the colored elevation? There you go. So we thoughtfully laid out the design so that it would truly be considered compatible with the Armstrong Avenue neighborhood and the surrounding area. The other concern was that the facility was built 5 to 6 feet within existing homes. At the Planning Commission hearing, one owner expressed concern with the north setback being at 5 feet. which is allowed in the R1C zone, just so you're allowed to have a aggregate 14-foot setback, 5 feet on one side, 9 feet on the opposite side. Although a 5-foot setback met the requirements, with our revised exhibit, based on what we heard, we now increase the side yard to over 9.5 feet, just to create a little separation there. Additionally, this north side has no windows and only has an emergency exit door as required by code, thus not presenting any form of encroachment concern or even a privacy issue. Lack of parking compared to other facilities. Although the code requires 4 stalls, as Marissa indicated, we initially had proposed 6 parking stalls. At Planning Commission, it was stated by the residents that this still wasn't enough. Since there was more than adequate room to the rear of the proposed facility, I was able to shift the building back, maintain a great private open space for residents, which is really important. And one of our council members says we need to have open space, private space for residents to enjoy as well. And we actually increased the parking count to 11, as you saw in the site plan review, on the site plan exhibit. The redesign also provided me the opportunity to widen the front landscape. If you look at the first exhibit, it was a shorter width along Armstrong Avenue. We were able to widen that landscape area. So, Marissa, do you have that colored exhibit of the site plan? Or was that too late?
I do not have that one.
So what we were able to do is we were able to widen that landscape strip across Armstrong Avenue there and move the drive exit, the egress, further north. What that did is that provided us a greater area for landscaping across the front. So folks concerned about seeing parking stalls or too many windows across that front, once that landscaping matures in the next 2 to 3 years, the facility would no longer be even visible. The other thing we added, and we will go through the landscape review process, is on stalls 1 through 4, on those diagonal parking stalls, you'll see some cutouts there. Those are going to be filled with tree wells, provide some additional trees which break up the elevations there. So you're not going to see any of those windows. I've had experience working with several congregate facilities. I know what the commission was looking for. I know what the city council wants to see. So we thought we did a good job addressing all of that. All of these modifications work well in further screening the proposed facility from street view. We thought it was a great design to begin with. However, we felt it important to try and improve on the layout to reduce areas of concern. Armstrong Avenue does not have a middle turn lane for safe access to the facility. Several homes along Armstrong Avenue, from Gettysburg all the way to Ashland, have homes that access directly onto Armstrong Avenue. We were cognizant of that, so we went the extra step, and we incorporated a single entry and in and out on that half-circular driveway. This way, staff and visitors leaving the facility will not have to back out onto Armstrong Avenue. They will all face Armstrong, so have a better line of sight that way. The block wall. We agree that a block wall should be required as conditioned. However, the code only requires a 6-foot wall. A 7-foot wall is not necessary in that the only time a higher wall is required if there's a grading differential on the property. I had an opportunity to drive the site, and I believe staff did as well, and it appears that the property has even grade with the adjoining properties to the north. If there is a grading differential, we have no problem putting in a retaining wall, bring it up, and they build a 6-foot wall on the high side. That's typical requirements, so we will do that. So in summary, there's a huge demand for these facilities to meet the needs of our local hospitals. And based on the cost of the land and construction costs these days, an 18-bed facility is necessary that is based on the need and for financial reasons. This proposed facility is the ideal size to meet the growing needs of those folks needing long-term care. Another important factor is that the industry experts have indicated that these facilities should be located within 10 minutes of a local hospital. We drove this and did a Google site search on this, and it's exactly 7 minutes from this facility to Clovis Community Hospital. I ask that the council consider your staff's recommendation of support for the facility. I also ask that you please uphold your commission's approval of the facility based on the revised layout and all the effort that went into making a great project even better. Thank you, and I'm available for questions.
Any questions for Orlando?
Orlando, ARC is the parent company, right?
That is correct.
And how many facilities do they run in Clovis?
I believe this is the first one. They want to do additional facilities in the city of Clovis. This is our first one.
Do they have them elsewhere, I'm assuming?
No, this would be the first facility. They want to, we brought across Jose Marquez, who's an expert with the VA. He's been with it for 25 years. He felt a passion for working with those that have catastrophic injuries and illness. So this is our first facility, so we wanted to be first rate.
And will this facility have an agreement with the County of Fresno to
That is not at this time. I understand the concern with the inmate situation, but we do not have a contract with the County of Fresno. There's some stringent requirements, though, if they are going to go in that direction with 1 or 2 inmates. It requires that it be vetted through two physicians, the state prison system physician as well as the medical doctor for this facility. They have to determine that these patients are catastrophically ill and non-ambulatory. Whatever happened on Sierra Avenue or Villa Avenue should not have happened at all, because if someone was capable of getting up from their bed, they did not belong in this facility.
Yeah, I don't think the allegation was the person was able to get out of bed. I think they were just being difficult, I'm thinking. Delivery hours,
just throughout the day, no less, probably no more than you would see with Amazon or anything like that, or just a couple of days a week to deliver food. A dietitian will be on site or visit the site to prepare meals, although it has to be understood that most of these patients and residents cannot eat, and they're failed intravenously.
right. And visiting hours for the family, is it pretty much?
Pretty much 8 to 5. It's unfortunate. I've done about 6 of these facilities when I was on the other side, and it's very unfortunate that they get no visitors whatsoever, not even on holidays. My goal with this one here that I'm involved in is that to have the community reach out. We have a local church and they're called Mountain View. We also have these residents here to the north. It would behoove them to be in the best interest to be part of the community. Reach out, send your children there to read to these people that are confined to their beds. That's what that open space is for as well, that private space. It's a yard, there's gonna be a trellis. We're capitalizing on the existing mature trees that are to the north of us on people's backyards. So it provides some great seating areas for you to read to someone or work on a puzzle with them, make them feel like they're warranted and they're validated.
That's all the questions I have.
Any other questions for Orlando? Thank you, Orlando. Yep. Anyone else here to address the council? Okay, seeing none, we're going to go ahead and close the public portion, bring it back to the council. Any comments, discussion? If not, or a motion, we can entertain all those.
I have a question, procedural question. If we make the motion, is the motion to reject the appeal, or do we approve the planning commission's CUP?
You can uphold the CUP that was approved by the planning commission, if that's your desire, yes.
Okay. Years ago, there was a care facility here in Clovis on Clovis Avenue, right by Gettysburg. It became a haunted house later, and it was. I had to go in there, and I was afraid. It was a very scary environment, and I had family members that had to go to a mental hospital because there were no facilities available to care for them. That was the only care facility. There were, when you have people who are at the end of their life, or they are bedridden, the hospital cannot take them out of the hospital unless they can put them into an equal facility that they can be cared in. They can't go to a lesser facility. So you have somebody who's, picking up a bed is probably a harsh way of saying it, but you have someone who's in a bed at the hospital and there's no place for them to go. And having these types of facilities opens up an opportunity for the families to be able to see that, one, that their loved one gets taken care of well, that they're close, because several years ago, there was a mental health facility that was being discussed here in Clovis. And it was going to go into an industrial area, and people were understandably upset. But the problem we ran into from a law enforcement perspective, if you have a kid who's having mental health problems, the nearest facilities to deal with them were in Los Angeles or up in the Bay Area. And so you have to send your child up there. They're already having difficulty, and you're not there close to them. So having facilities that we can care for our own family members and the people, our neighbors, is important. I'm going to be making a motion to approve the CUP.
Councilmember Pierce?
I just wanted to make a couple of comments. First, I completely understand, and I appreciate that no one from the neighborhood had anything negative to say about the purpose of the facility, because as we've talked about and heard, these types of care facilities are valuable, and the fact that that's really not the issue, I appreciate that, and I just wanted to point that out as well. I do appreciate the concerns specifically of the proximity of the elementary school, and recognize that should anything change in the future, that there would be an additional process that would have to go through to become anything other than this type of specific care facility. I think at this point, all we can do is trust that process to kind of protect that area. I would probably share some of your concerns that maybe Sacramento doesn't deserve that trust from us, but I don't see, as I sit here right now, that I have an option other than trusting that other process would it come to that. I also am concerned and interested in the traffic issue as far as the left turn, and again, understand that that's something that will be looked at in the site plan review, but we have to move it forward in order to get to that point. So I would just like to make a comment on the record that I would hope that would be looked at very carefully, and if I could say, please do it. I think that's a valid concern and likely something that would ease that issue in the neighborhood. So I think specifically being concerned about the proximity of the elementary school, the likely necessity of some sort of left turn situation there on Armstrong are both things that I certainly heard and recognize and appreciate. Finally, I do share Councilmember Bessinger's concern of, if not this, what it could be. And so many times already in just my year and a half on this council, we've had things brought before us where you might not like the choice that's behind door number one, but unfortunately, again, some of the way that this state doesn't allow us to control everything at the local level leaves you with that question of, but what in the world could be behind door number two? And so I think there is some, considering the by right nature of some of those things with lower bed counts, there could be some concerns there as well. I can't find in the findings that were presented to us a good reason to reject any of them or not uphold the Planning Commission's findings. But again, I do want to make it very clear that I share your concerns for those specific issues and will trust that whether it is our staff on the traffic or the CUP process, should a different type of facility want to come in there, that those issues would be addressed at that point.
Any comments? Yeah, just want to thank the citizens for coming out, as well as the applicants for, you know, at least taking the time to sit together and listen to the recommendations that the citizens have brought forward to you as far as changing some of the setbacks and the other issues. I think if we could make it a smaller facility of some sort, that would be great. I mean, I think that would appease everybody, but it's also not my dollars, so I understand the business model side of things as well. But if there was a way to do that, that would be greatly appreciated, I think, by the neighborhood as well as us, because it would alleviate a lot of the concerns that everyone seems to have. I do appreciate you making like I said, change to the setbacks and the trash enclosure. As far as the parking stalls go, I think that's one of those things where we went from, the request was you didn't have enough parking stalls, and now we're here and there's too many parking stalls. So I don't know if that's something in the site plan review that can be agreed upon as far as what's best for the facility or whatnot. But based on everything we've heard, I agree with my fellow council members. What's behind door number two probably isn't better than what's in front of door number one right now. So, and we say that from, you know, things like SB 9 that are presented to us, where, you know, you could end up with 4 homes that are 3 stories each, and, you know, and we can't say anything about it. They can just be built. So, anyways, that's all I have. Thanks.
And I wanted to thank the neighbors and the applicant and our staff for guiding us through this process. I also thank our planning commissioners for the hard work that they do. It's a balancing job here, because you have the codes in which you tell an applicant, this is what we're looking for if you're going to do it. and then they abide by that, and our planning commission looks over all that, makes these findings, and if there's something glowing, they would have, and our planning commissioners have done a great job of denying things that do not meet those 6 requirements. But this is how government should work. You come to us, we'll allow the hearing, and like it was Mr. Tom, like you said, it allowed us to make changes, to make accommodations in which we're listening to you, but really the applicant's listening to you. And to have also someone who knows the city of Clovis, like Orlando, who really understands our planning department and what we require and what we are looking for, that is also important. So they bring a product that is sort of the best of the situation we have. I trust all of you to hold us accountable, to say and do what we say we're going to do, because you will make whatever facility that comes there the best it can be, because your eyes and you care enough about your neighborhood. And you will hold us accountable to saying, you said this, do that. And so that is important. And whatever comes in that the state mandates or it's by right, I say it with pride that we do it best. We do it best. Our staff looks at it, and then the council listens to that and listens to the neighbors to try to make government work the best that it can. And so, and lastly, I just want to say, a city that cares for the least amongst us, we will reap blessings and rewards in the end. And that's what we're trying to bring here to our city. And so we want to care for them in our backyard. And so that's important. So with that, Councilman Bessinger, you say you had a motion, so I'll wait for that.
I do. But before I do, I want to thank the neighbors. I want to thank the applicant for the flexibility. Staff did a great job, and thank you for the Plan Commission. I'd like to make a motion upholding the Plan Commission's approval of conditional use permit 2024-003, subject to the conditions listed in the attachment.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion, second on the floor. All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, thank you very much. We'll move 4-0 with 1 absent. And that's the official vote. Okay. All right, next we'll move to item 6. This is administrative items. It's consider approval designation of voting delegate and alternate for the League of Cal Cities Conference and Business Meeting on October 16th through 18th of this year. And John has this one.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Real quickly, staff is recommending the City Council designate the voting delegate and alternate for the League Annual Conference to be held in October. That concludes staff's report, and we'd be looking for council to take action on a voting member and a delegate.
I think, Brianna, is it currently just Mayor, myself, and Matt? Is that where we're going? Okay. Are you going to go?
I haven't decided yet. Matt, you're going, Matt?
Yeah.
Are you going?
I'm going, and Mayor's going as well.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, I guess the one who's not here. Whoever's not here. The mayor's the voting delegate, and the mayor pro tem would be the assistant.
Okay.
I was
Since it's still the same in October.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
This is absolutely.
All right. Before we go to the motion, let me open it up for the public. Any comment? No? Okay, I'll close the question. Okay, get a motion on that.
I'll make a motion to designate the mayor as the voting delegate and the mayor pro tem as our alternate for the League of Cities, California Cities Annual Conference and Business Meeting, October 16th through 18th, 2024.
Second. Okay, a motion and a second. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. Next, city manager comments. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. The only thing I had this evening for city manager comments was to see if I could get the consensus of city council to consider moving the council meetings, from a Monday night to a Tuesday night, beginning in 2025, with the potential of looking at starting the evening a little bit earlier than 6 p.m. But at this point, I'd be just looking for consensus for me to put something together to bring before you for consideration beginning in 2025 to move the city council meetings from Monday night to Tuesday night.
Just because of Monday holidays or workload, but...
Well, you know, I've been doing this for 25 years now, and having a Monday night council meeting is a little bit of a task, coming in on a Monday and dealing with everything on a Monday night. I think that a future generation of employees might appreciate going into a Monday with additional time to prepare for a Tuesday meeting versus a Monday meeting.
Any other questions? And, go ahead, Councilmember.
No, I was just going to say, I kind of concur with John from the standpoint of Monday mornings are typically everybody gets together, 10 o'clock, you meet with staff, and then you try and figure out what's happened over the weekend and everything else the last week, and then you come in on Monday night and get everything ready to present. So I think having a day of flexibility for staff would be beneficial.
Monday's horrible.
I'm not opposed to that.
And again, I'd just be looking for a consensus to bring it back for your consideration.
I'm fine with it. It would be better for me. Same kind of concept.
All right, so you'll bring it back as an official item then?
Yep, that's all I needed. Thank you.
Okay. All right. That's it? Okay, now we'll go for council comments. Councilmember Pierce?
I have nothing.
Okay. Councilmember Basco?
Nothing.
Councilmember Bessinger?
Nothing.
Okay. And then for me, I just wanted to report, I went to the Hot August Days car show held by the Elks, and I think Chief Eck was there, and for PD, right? It was, yeah, so PD was there as well, and I think a news anchor, forgot his name, was there. And they had us judging those cars, and I appreciate any of you who loves cars, because we had such a difficult time deciding, at least I did, and I think we were speaking as we crossed paths, that it was so hard to decide the different categories and what was best. But great job to the Elks, and thank Chief Eck and then PD and for Clovis Elks inviting us to be a part of. And I think Rebecca was there too, so thank Rebecca for being an active part there. And I think that's all I have. So with that... Our guys are mad at you. I don't know the result. I don't know if Chief knows the result. Yeah.
They'll let you know.
Okay, with that, we stand adjourned at 11:24. No. Yeah. Take that picture so Lynn can see. Thank you, everybody.